And GMA.
I know. What the F?
Oh my gosh, you guys. Hello. Welcome to Almighty Blaze. We are getting like all the scoop in the green room, and now you have joined us live. We just found out that Paula McLain is one of our esteemed guests today, whose book, When the Stars Go Dark, it's a GMA pick. When did this happen?
Oh, yes. It was the buzz pick this morning. So my book was like dazzling in Times Square. So that was exciting. Mm-hmm.
Exciting is not even the word. Okay, I'm going to just do a quick intro and then remove myself so you guys can talk about all of these fantastic things. So welcome to The Blaze. I'm Jenna Blum. I'm one of the co-founders of The Blaze. And in case you're new here, again, thank you for joining us. We are a team of 35 volunteers dedicated to connecting writers and readers in the age of COVID and beyond. And if you like what you see here, please give us a like or a follow on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. We are ubiquitous. Please consider subscribing to our newsletter at www.amightyblaze.com, because then you'll find out what's coming down the pike every week, every month. We've got fantastic stuff for you. Today, we are joined by our special guest interviewer. I was going to say influencer, which is actually true. Sarah McCoy.
She's got it there, Jenna.
She's like, woo, do what I say, woo. You will do whatever Sarah says after this interview. We didn't drive her away last week. She came back. We're so happy. And I'm going to read your official bio now. Are you ready? Okay. Even though I know Sarah really well, so I could tell you all the behind the scenes things. Glasses. Not crooked glasses today. Very exciting. Sarah McCoy is the New York Times, USA Today, and international bestselling author of the novel Mystique, which is coming from our publisher, HarperCollins, in 2022. Marilla of Green Gables, The Mapmaker's Children, The Baker's Daughter, which was a 2012 Goodreads Choice Award Best Historical Fiction nominee. Novella, The Branch of Hazel in Grand Central. The Time It Snowed in Puerto Rico, and I practiced this. Le Soufflet de Feuilles et des Promesses. Pride and Providence. If Tatiana Delaunay is listening today, pay no attention to what I just said. I'm sure she wants to kill me. Sarah's work has been featured in Real Simple, The Millions, Your Health Monthly, Huffington Post, Read It Forward, Writer Unboxed, and other publications. She lived in North Carolina with her husband, Doc B, and their 4 kids, Gilly and Tutu, who are, hopefully will like run around behind Sarah in the background while
really
that would be so great. Paula McLain, who many of you know and worship as historical fiction author, one of the queens of historical fiction, has just released her first thriller, When the Stars Go Dark, which we're here to talk about today. Paula is the author of the New York Times bestselling novels The Paris Wife, Circling the Sun, and Love and Ruin. April 13th, When the Stars Go Dark dropped. That was just a couple days ago, and it's already a GMA pick. Paula was born in Fresno. After being abandoned by both parents, she and her sisters became wards of the California court system, moving in and out of various foster homes for the next 14 years. This is so fascinating. This is all on her website, by the way, in case you guys think I was like stalking her through like weird registries and stuff. When she aged out of
stalking, though, if you want to do that.
Yeah, but not this part. Just other things that I'll reveal later. Paula has supported herself by working as a nurse's aide in a convalescent hospital, a pizza delivery girl, an auto plant worker, cute coveralls, I hope, cocktail waitress. Before discovering that you could and very much wanted to write, you received your MFA in poetry from the University of Michigan in 1996. The Paris Wife has been published in 34 languages, you guys. Paula is the recipient of fellowships from Gatto, MacDowell, Cleveland's Arts Prize, Ohio Arts Council, National Endowment for the Arts. You are the author of 2 collections of poetry, a memoir like Family Growing Up in Other People's Houses, and a first novel, Ticket to Ride. And you now live with your family in Cleveland.
In Cleveland.
Yes. Okay. I got it right. Yay. Paula, welcome. Sarah, welcome back. I'm going to
Thanks, Jenna.
And I'll come back at the end to say goodbye to everybody.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you.
Oh, Paula!
Hi,
I feel
Sarah.
like I'm in the room now with you. My bestie. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that you're here, especially on this full week of events that you've had and exciting news, and oh my gosh, and now you've landed here and you look amazing for Pub Week.
Thank you. It's all lights and mirrors, smoke and mirrors. Is that the phrase? I'm exhausted.
Are you? You don't look like it at all. You look amazing.
Thank you.
I love that bio. I want to jump back to it because I love that in your bio, it points out that you are first and foremost a poet. And that is something I want to highlight because it comes through in all your work. But for some reason, I think maybe because this is a thriller, and usually in that genre, it's like, well, first off, it's a lot of men who write sort of the thriller.
Fair enough, yeah.
And there are a lot of women, but it also is very technical, very scientific. It's very
procedural sometimes, yeah.
Procedural, that's a perfect way to describe it. But because you bring a poet's sensibility and lyricism to the actual prose, it's just gorgeous. So for anyone out there who's like, I don't read thrillers or I don't read, whatever, you don't understand. This book, I really, truly believe it transcends a genre, one or the other.
Yeah, that's so lovely of you to say. I actually had a thought when I first had the idea, and the idea really surprised me. It's not like I was thinking for a long time about switching genres, but when I had the idea, I thought actually that it might, like the lyricism, it's just my thing. Like description is I make pie and I can describe things. Like those are my two strengths. And I thought it might be actually really well.
There's many more, by the way, because I know her very well, but okay, we'll go with that for now. Pie and describing things.
Well, I just thought that the tension between my natural go-to kind of lyricism and then the dark material might be an interesting fit. So
it's beautifully done. I mean, it really is. And it draws you in and it keeps you there. And so what I'm going to do in this, I told you this earlier, I'm going to do this a little differently than all your other.
Okay.
So this isn't.
You can do whatever you want, Sarah. Okay. I trust you.
I love you. Okay. So we are going to introduce readers out there who maybe have heard about this on Good Morning America, or they've seen it in the New York Times multiple times being talked about and reviewed and gushed on. And they're thinking, what is this? Because when the stars go dark, what is this about? And so we're going to give everyone a little primer in sort of a fourth grade reading class way, which I think is fun. We're going to talk about, or have you tell us about the setting, because everyone can follow along with these elements. It's a lot harder sometimes when I've been on these Zooms to jump in, especially if you come in late or something.
Right. So like deep theme stuff. Right. And everybody's confused.
Emotional, which I love talking about with you. And I will, and I would for hours. But then
Iron Block, did you see that?
Yay!
Yay!
Block shouting out to you. Thanks for joining us, friend. And for birthday wishes that you gave me earlier in the week. This book is actually, and I told Paula this months ago, this was I feel like it's my little niecey birthday gift to me. Like, I love this book so much. And it came out the day before my own birthday, so I feel like it's mine. Like
it belongs to you. Yeah. I'm sure that was, the universe had that in mind when it selected this pub day.
I know you thought about that. I know you're like I call you my mixed sister soul sister. So I know that this was sort of birthed out of that loving place just for me. So we're going to talk about now the setting, the main characters, the plot, and the title. Those are the areas I want to focus on for everyone. Okay. So let's start with setting. Can you just give us a quick and dirty description of your location and time period, just so everyone is clear?
Absolutely. So I'm actually a California native. I know everyone wants to live in Cleveland, but I unfortunately was born in California and left in my 20s. And this was my opportunity to write a love letter to California and to return there in my imagination. So it's set in Mendocino, California, which is a few hours north of San Francisco. And if you've not been to that extraordinary place, let me just tell you, you want to go there because it is beautiful, but kind of in an eerie way, like deeply atmospheric. It's Mendocino is a Victorian village that's perched on the bluff above the Pacific. A Murder, She Wrote was actually filmed in Mendocino, so it's those little clapboard, gingerbread, beautiful houses, and then the fog comes in, and it's surrounded by redwood forests, and it's just stunning. It comes with its own physical power. So it's set there, and it's set in 1993 primarily. And I set the book in the 1990s because I didn't want to write a procedural novel. I wanted to write a character-driven novel, and I wanted my character, my detective, who is a missing persons expert, to really trust her gut and her instinct and her intuition rather than DNA testing, criminal profiling, advanced, criminal databases, etc. So, so that's it. And there are real life missing persons stories woven into the plot.
And that leads us into the next question I had, which was about main characters.
Right.
So Anna Hart is the main character. I'll just put that out there. But are they based on real people or on?
No, they're not based on real people. So this is the first time, obviously, for the last 10 years, I've been trafficking in historical fiction.
Brilliantly, too.
Thank you. Which is based in biography. So taking these little known women from history and animating their lives. And this is the first time in over a decade that I've had an imaginary character kind of hijack my imagination and take me single-handedly, really. It's her fault that I was inspired to try a new genre because she just came out of the sky. And yeah, so she's a seasoned missing persons expert who is based in San Francisco. And then something terrible happens, a tragedy, an unspeakable tragedy happens in her personal life. And so she leaves San Francisco with her life in shreds, and she returns to Mendocino. Now, Anna Hart, my main character, like me, grew up in foster care. But the place that she calls home, the place that's home, the home of her soul, is Mendocino, where she had her happiest years. And so she returns there hoping to heal and to put herself back together. And literally the moment she arrives, she sees a missing poster. A local 15-year-old girl has vanished in thin air, and against her own good sense and against her health. And she becomes drawn into the case, obsessed with this case, and believes that she needs to save this girl in order to save her life.
And now the cases, I'm trying not to give anything away because I've read this and I absolutely love this book so much that I just want to gurgle over, but I want to entice readers out there to come into it and to voraciously read it like I did, to figure it out, because I love a puzzle, and that's what this is.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Were the cases that are mentioned based on real people?
Okay, so my primary victim, Cameron Curtis is her name, the 15-year-old girl that we meet at the beginning of the story who has vanished, is entirely imaginary. But then I do blur fact and fiction much in the same way that I do in my historical novels, by taking real missing persons cases and weaving them into the plot, both in the 90s. And then there's a backstory. Anna grew up in the 1970s in Mendocino, and during that time, a friend of hers actually was abducted. And when Cameron Curtis goes missing, it reminds her far too much of the first time Mendocino has undergone a trauma, a collective trauma. And so she knows that it can't possibly happen again. And those 1972 murders, Sarah, are also real disappearances. So, I mean, it's was fascinating for me, actually, to be able to, I love history and I love the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And particularly, I think, because we're talking about dark truth, it seemed imperative to me to not just tell a story, right? A page turning story where a detective has to find a victim. Like that's pretty formulaic, right? But then to get down to the bottom of things that I'm interested in as a writer and as a human, which is how we recover from trauma, both individual and collective, how we heal, how we find each other, how we find our purpose, how we use our pain in order to, right, to find our people in the world.
And that's part of what, and I know, again, it's hard for me because I want to get so personal right now. And I know, but Paula knows that in the middle of reading this, I texted her and I said, I am overcome with emotion. I cried like more times than I will admit, because it does tap into, I think, all of us, no matter who you are, right. You have had some sort of childhood trauma. And for some of us in this exact particular way, our own stories, but in these sort of traumatic coming of age, we'll put it, into your own body and your own person and your own ownership of who you are as an adult, and yet you're still a child. That sort of
absolutely. We carry our stories with us, right? We carry our baggage, the weight of what we've experienced, and of course, there's a continuum of that. Not everyone has what they would call trauma,
right?
But everybody has a story they carry with them for sure.
Absolutely. And that's, you mind that in a very delicate and compassionate way that makes the reader tap into it if they have it themselves, like some of us, or if they knew someone, or if they had a sibling, or if they had a neighbor. You just empathize so deeply with this character and the trauma. And then, like you pointed out, you go, at least I did, because I love history, and I'm sure other readers who are on here love history. You go online and you're Googling, right? Or you're searching for these 1970s, and you find them. And it's not fiction. This is real. Even though you know that Anna Hart is fiction, it is now tapped into your emotional reality, and it's tapped into your reality. And it's this sort of braiding together that forms a tapestry and a mystery that I was just overwhelmed. It really is masterfully done.
Thank you. It felt important to me. So without giving anything away, because it was on Good Morning America, they flashed a picture of Polly Klaas, who is one of the real life victims who I weave into my story. One of the most, famous missing persons in our national history, the biggest manhunt in California history. She disappeared. She was abducted from her bedroom in the middle of a slumber party in October of 1993, while her two 12-year-old friends watched. And when I was researching the book, I came upon her story, or was rather reminded of her story, because I grew up not far from where she grew up, right? So this is reality. This is the truth.
And like I just said, it taps into that. Even if you didn't have a trauma, you can imagine being 12 years old again and being at a slumber party.
No, it's every parent's nightmare. It's every town's nightmare that something can break through the scrim of safety and our feeling of being protected, our feeling that we can protect our children, our feeling that we have some control over our universe, when of course it's not true at all.
And I think that you also, the timing of putting it, I know you didn't, that's why I paused there, is because I know you didn't time this to come out right now, but the timing of it is so poignant, I think, in our society right now, because we have just come through something that we could not control. Parents could not control, they could not protect their children. They didn't feel like first with this pandemic, and no one knew what to do. And so we, again, even if you don't understand the trauma of abuse or you haven't any experience with that, you know the trauma of feeling like you can't control what's going on, and it could very well take away the very people you love most.
Right.
All come through that
right
this past year.
Right.
So I really feel that it rings those bells for people to read right now, and also have a cathartic, right? Because that's sort of the Greek, you go to a tragedy because not because you like tragedy. You don't pick up a book because you want to see people hurting or people struggling or going through trauma. You pick it up because you are taking that journey with them.
We want to have an emotional experience. It's why we read.
And then we feel that we come to a new understanding, or even if it's not an understanding, we have companionship with the author who wrote it, with the people, the characters. Suddenly understand that we aren't alone in that feeling, because all these characters and the author who wrote it, they are with me in this sort of journey through this hard time to a satisfying, cathartic end. And
absolutely. I think that's why we read. We read to connect. We read to recognize ourselves in the pages. And another reason why I wrote this particular story is because I myself am a survivor of childhood trauma and sexual violence. And when I was a kid, I felt really alone in my own experience. And I know that it's a really common, a desperately, horribly common experience. And yet for most of us, we don't speak that story aloud. And so I made a decision that I was going to do that here and kind of connect the dots between my personal life and my work for the first time in a long time. And so it felt like a really powerful experience for me as a writer too, is to do that work with sensitivity and to try to tell these stories with dignity, to not make victims convenient or simply a plot point, but be really looking at how a victim becomes a victim in the first place, and how predators and victims connect and find each other, and how we recover ourselves once we're victims of trauma, and how we put ourselves back together again, and how we heal, and all of that. These are big questions, but those are the questions I want to ask in my work.
And, I'm sitting here and I'm just like, my insides are just warming like an ember, because I love you so dearly as a friend. We've been friends for so many years, and you're so vulnerable and so genuine and so raw. You put the emotion out there onto the page in this book. And so I'm like terrified right now, but I am. I'm like, oh God, she's going to make me say it because I love her. To be authentic and to reflect back what you have given us, I share that sexual abuse background that I don't talk about. I don't talk about online. I don't talk about in public. Only my family and dear, dear friends like because there is a weird stigma of shame. Look at me. I'm getting like flushed. I'm like, but it's
no, for sure there is. Yes.
It lets us talk together and to say in a safe way, we're not alone. The whole Me Too, that was like a nice little, oh, Me Too hashtag, but then you didn't have to sort of go there. You could just hashtag it and then leave it, right? But this book.
Absolutely. Sometimes in order to say Me Too, you first have to say me, right? Yes. So we've been friends for years, but I didn't know that about you until I published that Modern Love column where I kind of came out. And then I got, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of letters that said things like, now I don't feel alone, and you're not alone. And so there's a really powerful, profound net, a connection of survivorship that is absolutely incredible. And you're you're ridiculously brave right now for just saying this out loud. And
I'm not. I'm putting it out there because I feel that this book has earned my trust, and you as a writer have earned my genuine, truth. You have earned that truth, and not, I would never put that out there, not for $1 million, and not just because of that stigma of shame, but because, you think about all the people who were involved, like my family members, and they don't want that out there either. Because for some reason that's shameful too. And yet that's not fair, right?
No, it's absolutely not fair. And I think that there's something that is incredibly powerful about speaking to shame and speaking back to silence and empowering yourself, right? To speak truth to truth, right? To speak truth to violence. And to me, that is a part of the healing story. And it's a part of what we're talking about. How do you recover yourself? Well, part of it is finding words for things there aren't words for.
Right. Or picking up a book and reading, and then in that finding your words, like you have given so many of us. I am currently us. And then I don't want to say paying it forward, but then like I'm trying to do, like encouraging others, don't be afraid. That's what you've given us. You've given us those steps to say, don't be afraid to pick this up, read it, remember something, own it, say me, and then me too, and share it with your, book club.
Right. Or your sister or your daughter or a neighbor, or, because that's what community is, right? That's what it can do. That's how our stories can save us.
And readers out there watching, if you haven't read Paula's New York Times Modern Love column, I mean, clearly this is what it did to me. So go, read that. Read this book. It is so, it's just beautiful. Both of them are so beautifully done, and they're so enriching. They're a must. And I've gotten off, but we kind of talked about plot because
I think it's okay, Sarah. I think it's okay that you totally blew your plan. In fact, I'm flattered.
I'm so
totally flattered.
But we did, because I said one of my plot questions is, what would you say is the beating heart of this book?
Yes. Can I answer it?
Yes, I would love for you to answer it.
Yeah. So it was really interesting to me. What I wanted to do was, and I did an interview last night with Jessica Knoll, who is a writer that I really love for Book Passage. And she said, she's a thriller writer. And she said, this isn't so much a whodunit as a howdunit. Like you're really trying to pick through how victims and predators come together, how victims become victims, how we can sort of climb off the table as victims, and all of that. Like the deep psychology of it, right? That the same event can happen to two different people and twist them in different directions. So if there's a boiled down theme to the book, it's that healed people heal people, and hurt people hurt people, right? Right.
Yes. No.
Exactly.
So I encourage us all to be healers.
Yeah. The theme of the wounded healer is one that really appeals to me and always has as a reader. And I think as a writer, I'm always writing about resilience and survivorhood and how people overcome obstacles and transcend, right? Transcend their experience, transcend their environment, and become themselves, become something more than what happens to them, right?
Yeah. You're gonna keep it together, Sarah. Don't get all like, I feel like we're on one of our private phone calls right now, and I'm just gonna bust out, start like getting weepy on you. But
I love it.
I'm gonna keep it professional and ask you, what do you see as as a thematic through line in this book? And is it across all your work, or would you say there's a certain?
Yeah. So what I just said about resilience and about survivorship about how
You think that's all your work is
I think
survivorship?
I think it's all my work. So it's easy to point to a book like Circling the Sun, for instance, and say, okay, Beryl Markham she's a total badass, but how does she become a badass?
Yeah.
Right. So my connection with Beryl Markham is that she was abandoned by her mother when she was 4 years old, and I was abandoned by my mother when I was 4 years old, and that's how I connected to that character. Right. Martha Gellhorn basically had to survive Ernest Hemingway, as well as many wars. Right. And so, so here, what my detective is carrying, right? What she has to work through, what she has to let go of, she first has to let in. And so that's something I'm always writing about. Self-knowledge, right? Self-awareness, transcendence, and how we can use the sources of our pain in order to find our life's purpose.
And this is why it is so much more than just a thriller. And the fact that you went from historical fiction and took this step into the thriller genre in itself is such a brave and courageous thing. And then
thank you. There are conventions that I had to, basically get my ass kicked trying to learn. But then there's the stuff that we do as writers, Sarah. We write character-driven books, right? We write in, using a voice as an engine. We write description, we write dialogue. So all of these things were my anchor points. And I don't know, I knew I wanted not to write a mystery, but to write about mystery, to write about the mystery of the human experience.
So the title.
Yeah, When the Stars Go Dark. So I have a title problem. Like titles are hard for me, and if they're not organic, are titles hard for you?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So if they don't come right away, and usually they don't come right away, and then it's late, and then we're right up against production deadlines, and people are sending really snarky emails back and forth to each other, panicked, and making me make lists, and they're all so horrible. But here, when I got to that moment, I remembered a scene in the book. Anna, without giving too much away, Anna has a beloved foster father who is her North Star kind of in the book.
I love that relationship.
Yeah.
Later, but
yes, me too. Yeah. So the character of Hap, there's a scene where Hap tells Anna, even though we can't see the stars all the time, they're always there. Right. And we're always there. You're not alone. Like, we're always there for each other when we love each other, even if we lose each other to death, etc., or to what have you. The stars are always there, and we're always there for each other. So it's a little, it's emotional. Yeah. But that's what it means, right? That's what it means. How we find each other in the dark.
And now, speaking of, just because when I hear that story, even I think of, like, I don't know, magic and twinkles and all that. So, how would you feel? Can I tell the story of when you first told me about this book?
I don't remember. Were we drinking?
No, we weren't drinking. That would be number 2.
Was I having a pedicure?
No. That would have been another one. Yeah. We were driving. Do you remember the storm?
That storm. Yeah.
So we were outside of Raleigh, right? Or in the Raleigh area.
Yeah, I was doing that event, and that's when you really did watch me get a pedicure. But then we drove through a terrible thunderstorm that was like
And then we were driving, and there was this horrendous thunderstorm that came through, and I'm driving through this storm, and Paula is telling me about, she's like, well, I said, well, what are you working on now? And she's telling me, well, I'm sort of trying something new. I'm going to do a thriller. And she started telling me about this book, and this thunderstorm comes in, and it swamps everything, and there's traffic everywhere, and it's just, we can't even see, we can barely hear each other. And then just as she's finishing telling me the story of this, and I'm thinking, this is an amazing book, and trying to focus on the road, we come through, and the storm stops, and the sun comes out, and there's a rainbow. And that's when I said, I had full body chills. I was like, I don't know.
That was from me. The rainbow was from me. This book
is going to be phenomenal because clearly the universe is saying that it must be, and it is. And so now it's out and everyone is loving it. And I love it so much that I could gush on and on and on about it. And I will, if anyone wants to just jump on with me on social media, I will gush and gush. But now I want to do a little fun because we're getting down to the end of the. Okay. This is I call it author hodgepodge. Well, everyone else is going to get questions. So everyone else get online, ask your questions in the chat. And we'll get to those in a few minutes. But first, I'm going to ask Paula some author hodgepodge. And the way this works is it's just super easy.
Okay.
To know you questions, either or. You pick which one you like better or you would. Okay. So ride a horse or ride I know these are fun. Ride a horse or ride a motorcycle.
For sure, a horse.
A horse.
For sure.
Beach or mountains?
I want a beach by the mountains.
How does that work?
That works in California.
Oh,
you got a beach and then, yes.
If you had to pick one, you could.
Mountains.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have plugged you for a beach girl. But okay. Scrabble or cards?
Cards.
What's your favorite card game?
Hearts.
My family.
My family.
Hearts.
My family is crazy, and the swear words come out. We swear like truckers. We throw down. We throw down cards, Sarah.
Yes. Oh, my family gets so serious. My 89-year-old abuelita gets mean. Oh my goodness. If she is almost about to lose, it is like, oh, don't even mess with grandma at that point. So my family could play cards all day long.
We have to play sometime. Okay.
Passenger or driver?
Driver.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't do yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because we're control freaks. So we need to drive.
Absolutely true. Okay, this is a weird one, but when you sleep, do you have the fan on or off?
I have been listening to white noise, I'm pretty sure, since I was like in the womb. Yes, fan on.
Fan on.
Fan on.
You are absolutely my soul sister because
I travel with a fan, like neurotic. Completely neurotic.
Yes. I did too. I traveled
the little one
with a little one that I would turn on at night because I cannot stand static air. If I'm in a hotel room and I feel like it's static or I don't have that white noise, I just absolutely lose it.
A quiet hotel is like, it's eerie. It's like the Bates Motel. It's like a coffin. No, I don't.
I'm 1,000% with you. So we'll both on book tour next time. We'll be like next door to each other, and I'll be two of your fans. Turn on. Okay. Okay. You don't have to answer this if you don't like it. Tattoos or no tattoos?
I have tattoos.
That's amazing.
Did I ever tattoo myself?
No. Like where?
Next time we have drinks.
Okay, never mind. We'll move on. That's a fun one. Okay, one last one.
Okay.
I'm picking because I have a whole list of fun ones. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Me too.
Yeah, for sure. Although last night, because I was doing this event in California and I got off and it was 10 o'clock, I had plantain chips with a White Russian. So a little of both.
That's
a little of both, right? I like a sweet thing, and then I have to have a salty thing. And if I have a salty thing, I need a sweet thing, but the salty thing goes last for sure.
I love anything salty.
There's a question, Pam O'Hara, what drink are you going to make tonight?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't know. Something with bourbon because it's the only liquor I have in the house right now. So
You and Brian would be he is a bourbon guy all the way. So she wants to know now, what's your favorite?
what's your favorite? This is a friend I've my BFF is a friend I've had since graduate school at Michigan.
So
yeah, our kids were babies together. Pam O'Hara, she's my librarian friend. My favorite pie this year is probably the same favorite pie of every year, which is rhubarb. Strawberry rhubarb pie is my favorite.
Okay, would you rather bake it yourself or buy it?
Oh my God, I have to make it. Yeah. No, it's always, they put too much, pectin in the ones.
Like the stuff that's
gluey. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, and Nisa says, you plan on writing another review thriller, or are you going back to historical fiction next?
Okay, I don't know what review means, but am I going to write another thriller or going back to historical fiction next? I can tell you that it was really, really transformative and inspiring, and to just blow the doors off and throw myself over a cliff and try something I'd never tried before. And I was over my head. And I feel like that's how we grow, by doing that. So whatever comes next, all I'm saying is I better learn something.
I heard a little birdie rumor that you might continue Anna's story.
I might.
It was in another interview, so I'm not blowing any. You said this in another interview. That's
all. Yeah, I might. I do think that this character, she's like my avatar now, can tell a lot of stories. And she's fascinating to me. She feels like a real person. I'm sort of obsessed with her. And the world that I built, this world of Mendocino, and it's not just the place, it's the intermediary characters who feel really significant to me. There's a wisecracking bartender that I love. There's a homeless couple that lives in the park. There's too many to name, but I love them and I feel super invested in them now and in their lives. Do you ever feel that? You know, you're writing imaginary characters or real historical characters and you feel like they spin on long after you close your laptop or long after you put the book down.
Like I still have, like we talked about earlier, Hap is just in my...
Thank you. I love him too. He's Anna's foster father I gave her this character. I call him her North Star. It's because that's the kind of parental figure I wished I had when I was a kid. So
I absolutely love him. I want more. I want to know more. That's just me. I want to know his backstory.
There's a question that says, was writing the book cathartic or therapeutic in some way? And to me, the word catharsis feels like it's asking, did it purge something, right? Was I able to write through something? And to me, we take up our stories to write closer to them, right? And that if we ever are going to let something go, we actually have to pick it up and turn it over, like shake it like a snow globe and see what's actually going on. It's not leaving it behind you.
Right.
It's picking it up and bringing it with you. That's what I think. So yes, therapeutic, but in a kind of different way than cathartic. Yeah.
Yeah. Has the courage of writing a book in a new genre and talking about your experience led to trying other new things in your life? Oh,
has it led to trying other new things in my life? You know, that would be great. I'd love to say yes right now. Like, yeah, I'm going to try glass blowing or like fire baton twirling or motorcycle riding. No, but wouldn't that be good if we were all inspired to try new things all the time? I was reading something about how learning anything new increases neuroplasticity in our brains, right? Like learning a new language. So writing this book was like learning a new language. And yeah.
So I have a question that just popped into my head while we're sitting here. How has your family reacted to this book?
Like my kids' family, or like my sisters?
Your sisters who
Yeah.
were in the foster program at other homes, right?
Yeah. So my sisters are my biggest fans, and they're unbelievably supportive of me, which to me means so much, because in exposing my story, I expose them as well.
Yes.
When I was featured by the New York Times a few weeks ago, the interviewer, her name's Liz Egan, asked me if she could call my sister and talk to her. And I was almost afraid to ask, but I just thought, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And she quoted her like 4 times in the feature. It was amazing. And she said, reading Like Family, which is my memoir of growing up in foster care, was like taking a shot of whiskey, right? But when I asked her, or when I rather told her that I was writing this book, and that part of the storyline, a deep part of the storyline, was about surviving sexual assault and abuse, I asked her if that was okay, that I was exposing her again. And she said, and the reviewer quoted her, "If you're brave enough, sweetie, I'm brave enough."
Wow. Oh God. I mean, I have chills.
I know, exactly. If you're brave enough, I'm brave enough. And so that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Sometimes all it takes, right, is recognizing and bearing witness to a story.
Right.
Bring other stories out of the dark. Yeah.
Now your kids, how have they?
My kids, yeah. So this is the first book my daughter says she wouldn't be embarrassed to have her friends read.
Would not be embarrassed?
Yeah, because she likes this genre, because she likes suspense. She gets it. She understands how it works. And yeah, exactly. Isn't that funny?
That is funny, because
I know.
it's a great book, but all your books have been incredible.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe she thinks historical fiction is like old lady stuff. I'm not sure.
Oh, no. So we have one more question, I think, before Jenna's going to pop back on. So want to make sure we get Catherine's. Can you talk about what inspired the Raven character?
Yeah. So there's a raven in the book. Her name is Lenore, and she's a rescue, essentially, raven that's become a pet to the foster family that Anna lives with in Mendocino. And whatever her life was before, she only can, do you know ravens can talk, Sarah? She can, like parrots, right?
You know, I Googled this and it really kind of creeped me out.
Yeah, it's true. The thing that she says is, don't you, like, don't you. Isn't that creepy? It's so creepy. But Lenore is actually a real raven. I have a good friend who works at a rescue foundation in Vermont, and she met a rescue raven named Lenore who says, don't you.
I just kept thinking of Edgar Allan Poe, you know?
No, for sure. And so you know how it is when you're writing a novel and everything you hear, when it's really clicking, right? Everything you hear and everything you see belongs. It's almost like it's sticky, like you're sticky, and everything kind of seems to belong to the book. And so and you know, another character that's real in the book is a dog named Cricket. Who is a real dog, who is a real dog who I met and was really beautiful. And I looked in her eyes and I told her I was going to put her in a book.
You know, when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, in The Mapmaker's Children, I have a dog.
Somebody said, is that a raven over my right shoulder? Oh, yes, it is.
It's your inspiration raven for the real one.
And here's another inspiration, which I keep on my desk. This is a sculpture that's on the top of the Masonic.
Do you use storyboard?
No, I just collect little things and then I put them in the book.
No, that's what I'm not a storyboarder. I mean, it's my favorite I am. Yeah.
But this is a sculpture called Time and the Maiden, which has been atop this church, which was a Masonic hall that has been there since 1865. And it's Father Time, like with his scythe, who is also death, as we know. Father Time is also death. And he is braiding the hair of a young maiden. And you can see it from anywhere in the village. And it's the stark white image against the sky. And it's so eerie, and it's such a puzzle, and it's in plain view, and yet you don't know what it means. And that's something that is also a theme of the book.
I'm obsessed with Mendocino. I've never been.
Well, you need to go. Tell Doc B immediately as a birthday present.
Oh my gosh, when we can all travel again safely.
I know. There she is.
Oh, there's our Jenna. Oh, you're
muted.
Hold on. Why am I muted?
We can hear you now.
Okay. I'm like, Julie, help me. Sorry, you guys have to stop being so interesting because I lost track of time check. But I have to say, this conversation was so incredibly powerful that, like, I was sitting here like typing comments and weeping. Like, our producer is weeping. Everybody is weeping. I hope you could see the outpouring of love in the audience and with some of the chat. And you can always go back afterwards and look on Facebook at all the comments people popped up. Like, it was such an important conversation. And Sarah, I'm really glad that you deviated from your professional questions into what the book is really about and the heart and soul of the book, because it allowed us all to participate in your bravery. And it sounds so packaged and sort of like woo-woo, but
this book is far too genuinely powerful, and I believe in not just the story of it, but the heart of it and the author behind it so much that I wouldn't be able to speak from my heart if it didn't have so much of hers in it. So I can't recommend anything more than this book right now.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm so honored actually to be your friend and to know you in the world. So
thank you.
You guys stop it.
We're having this sort of
we're having a moment.
We're having a moment. I do. I love you so dearly, and I'm so proud of everything.
Thank you.
That you have done, and I'm so thrilled for all the success and all the accolades that this book is receiving. It is worth.
Thank you.
I gotta do the hold it up and shout it out. It is worth all of them and more.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you, Jenna, and Mighty Blaze and readers, and everyone go out and get this book.
Yes, get When the Stars Go Dark. Thank you for joining us, everybody, for this incredibly powerful conversation. It's one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. And I used to interview Holocaust survivors, so it was just kind of like, you guys are amazing. Thank you for joining us today and giving this to us forever. Thank you. Paula, good luck.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.